Austin, thank you for the time. As always, there was news this morning that Emmanuel Okoye is joining Tennessee's football team. He committed to Tennessee. He's reclassified, so he'll be a part of the team this fall. Could be an offensive or defensive player as he develops at Tennessee. What can you tell us about the new addition to Tennessee's football team?
A freak athlete, Josh. Super long, athletic, huge wingspan, can run, can jump, but is extremely raw. So, the way I look at it is am I expecting him to be any kind of, real factor this fall? Probably not. He's just not played a whole lot of football in his life. He's new to the game. But he's worked with a former New York Giant, O.C. Umanyora, who is one of the people that kind of helped find this kid out of Nigeria. Played soccer growing up. He's an interesting story. He played at the NFL Academy the last couple of years over in London. And, that's why you saw him on the NFL Network. If you want to catch up on that, you can go to the NFL Network's YouTube channel. And you can also go to our YouTube channel and catch up with my one-on-one with, Emmanuel. But really a polite, intelligent kid who, again, athletically has a lot of, God-given traits that, you just can't teach. And so, again, what can they do? Can they kind of polish up the diamond, so to speak? Will be it'll be up to Tennessee staff to kind of, get the most out of him. But, I mean, you're adding someone who looks the part and, again, physically is going to be ready to play. The question is mentally, how's the game, catch up to him, going from playing the NFL Academy in London, where I'm sure they don't have to play a real star-studded schedule, to playing in the SEC.
What do we know about that program? He played 3 games for the NFL Academy last year, but what sort of football background does it ultimately provides for its players? Are these games that they're playing? Who are they playing against? Are these scrimmages? What do we know about that program right now?
Yeah, they're games. Again, you're not playing great competition, in my opinion. It's all kind of developmental, but, when you've got, some former NFL guys helping train you, I think that it, at least puts you in a position to kind of, have a feel for them, to kind of have a feel for what you potentially could be. And, again, kid's super long and athletic. And, again, if you get anything out of him this fall, that's a bonus, or that means you've had some injuries probably, and you've had to turn to a younger kid earlier than expected. So, again, for my liking, this is someone you want in your program because you can develop him, and he has so many things that you just can't teach. But, I think you just kind of go into it knowing he's probably a year away. He needs to kind of acclimate himself here. And, again, if you get anything out of him this fall, it's a bonus.
Austin Price is with us. Volquest.com joins us each week. Thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, talking about Emmanuel Okoye. Do you have a better projection, offense or defense, for him of what his likely route will be at Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd probably lean offense, but I think the staff's still deciding what they're going to look at him as, and they'll kind of get him here and let him do some things, and then try to make a decision from there. I just look at it from the standpoint of Tennessee's a little deeper at edge Leo pass rusher than they are at tight end, but at the same time, if he gets here and he shows more promise on the defensive side of the ball, I don't think they'll hesitate to put him on the defensive side. I think this is just one of those things where they'll once they get him here, they'll evaluate him and go from there.
Do you know kind of the ins and outs of his recruitment? I know Tennessee's tight ends coach obviously had a big role to play, but was it presented to him that it would be more likely he would play offense, defense, or did they leave that fairly open-ended with Emmanuel?
I think they left that pretty fairly open. I think he's comfortable playing either. I think he's probably a little more polished on defense, just because it's kind of easier to go see ball, hit ball than it is, understanding route concepts, understanding blocking techniques and all that stuff. But, I think that, it was left fairly open-ended for him.
Austin Price with us, Volquest.com. We're roughly 10 days away from Memorial Day weekend. Where do things stand in terms of what Tennessee is putting together to have guys here? You've covered some guys here over the last couple of weeks expected to come to town. How do things look right now for what Tennessee is putting together here in the next couple of weeks?
Looks really good. I mean, they've got the big Memorial Day extravaganza. It's got a specific name. I'm not crazy about it, so I just call it the Memorial Day weekend recruiting Elite Series event. And so, you look at Jaden Riddell, Jonathan Eccles, that's 2 tight ends that'll be back on campus. Tennessee's likely to have some key offensive line targets here. Running back target or 2 will be in town, Daniel Hill, Peyton Lewis. Receiver-wise, we'll see if Ryan Wingo or Mike Matthews make it in. Maury Jefferson, the same thing with him. I mean, again, I keep saying Jefferson to me is as important of a recruit in this class as there is. He's wanted by other top teams in this league. He's an hour and 20 minutes down the road in Chattanooga. Dalwin, Tennessee's got to figure out a way to get across the finish line. And I think it all starts with him getting back here for Memorial Day, and then, of course, his official visit in the month of June, where he will, take all of his officials and start trying to work towards a decision. But, that unofficial weekend next weekend, I think, is a big deal. It was a big deal last year. So it kind of started setting the stage for John Davion Bradley and Christian Conyer and Rick Gibson and a bunch of those guys. And I think it does the same this year.
What's next for the immediate future? Is there anything on the horizon for Tennessee in terms of who else? Could there be any other personnel changes via either the transfer portal, the recruiting trail for the 2023 class, obviously on the heels of this Okoye commitment this morning?
No, I think that's done. I don't see Tennessee adding anybody else in 23, Joel. I think that's, I think that's pretty cut and dry. Tennessee's looked at a few kids that have won the portal, but that spring wave was just not very deep. And, I don't think there was any, there was very little quality out of the post-spring recruiting window for the transfer portal. And then I don't think there will be nobody else reclassifying like Emmanuel did. I think it'll be more just focus on the 24s and 25s that'll be on campus the next 6-8 weeks.
What is the priority level with offensive, defensive line recruiting for this year's class for 24 for Tennessee's coaching staff in terms of trying to rebuild with some of the guys they've had to replace from the last couple of years along the line of scrimmage?
Well, I think it's very important. I think Tennessee has got to go and find themselves a top-shelf tackle. Who is that, right? Is it Brandon Baker out of California? Is it or not Emmanuel Okoye? We just talked about. Is it Ethan Callaway? What offensive tackle, top-shelf offensive tackle they go after? Even then, if they land one of those, I think they'll still have to go to the portal because I think you're going to likely, John Campbell's a one and done. Joe Mincy. Will he be here a year from now? That's an up in question. J.J. Crawford won't be. I'm not sure that any of the younger tackles, they've got a year to kind of figure things out and get ready because they'll have a lot of opportunity a year from now. But I just think Tennessee's going to have to go to the portal, and they need to land on top-shelf offensive tackle. And then defensive line, they're in a really good spot with Cam Franklin. They're in a good spot with Williams Winery. They're in a solid spot with a lot of those edge guys. They could also swing and miss on all of them because they're all, kind of coin flip type recruitment. So, how does it all play out? But the offensive and defensive line, very, very important to this staff in this recruiting class in particular. I don't think anybody doubts Josh Heupel's ability at recruiting quarterbacks or receivers. I think you're always going to have guys that can make plays in the offense. To me, it's blocking, it's tackling, and those are the areas where Tennessee's really got to focus their efforts.
How deep do you think the left guard battle will be in August in terms of the amount of guys that will have a shot at that position?
Well, I think what you're looking at, Josh, is, could it be Andre Carrick? Could it be Ollie Lane? Could it be Addison Nichols, who spent most of spring focusing on center? But, once fall camp gets here, does he, kind of shift his attention to being in a battle at left guard? What about Jackson Lampley? He's kind of been on the right side predominantly, but could he flip to the left? What bodies is there? Messiah Reddick had a really good summer and springboard himself. Who kind of ascends there? Somebody needs to, right? Just like somebody needs to ascend at right tackle. I think everybody, believes John Campbell will be the left tackle. Everybody knows that Cooper Mays and Javonte Spraggins will be the center and right guard, but it's left guard, it's right tackle. They need 2 or 3 guys to really have big summers and go and take those 2 spots.
How has winning impacted the recruiting trail for Tennessee? Because I remember after Jeremy Pruitt's first season in Knoxville, they went 5-7, But he had a top 15 recruiting class. They were the only program in the top 15 in the recruiting rankings that year that had a losing record. And so now you're still seeing high recruiting rankings for Tennessee, but in what way has it just changed the impact overall that Tennessee is being viewed as a successful program again?
Well, I think what they're being I think the biggest thing that's changed is the quality of player they're in on. Doesn't mean you're going to land them, but they're getting the attention of some high-end players. You know, defensively, they've done a really good job of getting the interest of players, and that's been, a defense the first 2 years that were, was pedestrian at best first year, and last year was, I think, dramatically better. Now, again, they still had their moments, South Carolina, end of the game against Florida, and and a few other moments. But, like, for the most part, when you hold, teams, under 30 points in 10 of your 13 games, that's a pretty solid improvement from year one to year two. I think the defense has got to take the next step. That's why you've seen them play with a lot of really good players. That's why they've been able to land, Arion Carter and Caleb Herring and Jordan Matthews and Ricky Gibson and Tyree West, some of these talented defensive guys that are freshmen or, soon to be sophomores. And then, offensively, the hype, pun intended, is pretty real for just anybody that's wanting to score points. I mean, the receivers gravitate towards it. Running backs are interested in it, and the quarterback position, obviously, Heupel does a great job with that.
And Austin Price, always with good information on what's happening with Tennessee football recruiting, including today with the addition of Emmanuel Okoye, who is reclassified and will be a part of Tennessee's football team this fall. Every week we talk to Austin Price thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, making it unique, making it special, making it just for you. They want to be your jeweler there at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Check out Volquest to see more coverage from Austin. Austin, thanks for the time as always, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.